welcome everybody to our presentation on VIGOR GRO. Hello, Leyland Minter. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Roger. And how are you going?
Very good. I'm going to read out our mission statement. Working with horticultural managers, making the transition from chemical to organic for all aspects of their business. Fertilizers, weed and pest control, fungicides, spray adjuvants, and hydroponics, helping you reduce your costs, time, and adding value to your products via our regenerative, innovative dual action products. So essentially, we're an organic horticultural company, and we're not using any chemicals. Leyland has been involved for many, many decades with international agricultural chemical companies, but then pretty much, a couple of decades, he's been involved with developing a lot of organic products, and many of them you can actually find in the world today. I've partnered up with Leyland, helping him market these amazing products. And we're going to take you through VIGOR GRO today, but we do have the complete range of products available. Our brand names are VIGOR GRO for our fertilizer, On Guard, which is pretty much our insecticide. We've got a product called Natroponics, which will revolutionize hydroponics. It's just a one go-to product that will do everything for hydroponics for you. Gotcha is we consider a really, really good alternative to glyphosate Roundup, and we'll be doing other presentations on that. And our fungicide is called Fungo. But today we're focusing on our product called VIGOR GRO, our fertilizer. So we know what you're after. You're after vital looking crops. You want your crops to grow faster. You want longer shelf life. You're either organic or making the transition to organic. So obviously you want to get those toxic residues down. And our products being organic, they're completely safe for your employees, safe for bees, safe for the environment. And you'll see in this presentation that we actually have this dual action that by using the VIGOR GRO, you're actually also increasing the fungicidal activities. Leyland, would you like to comment on what our clients are after here?
Well, as you mentioned, Roger, I've been involved with the ag chem or agricultural inputs business for many years, starting off with the organophosphates, which are now mostly banned, carbamates, and then, like you said, a few decades ago, I realised there was a need to go organic or have softer or safer products, and so that's where we are now. And from my experience, farmers the public want to have a very good presented piece of fruit or a vegetable. And so better colour, more uniform, sweeter, etc. And that's what we've looked at. Now you mentioned better shelf life. We can increase the solids in the fruit or in the, let's say, a lettuce, so it doesn't desiccate or dry out on the shelf. Because there's less water in there are more minerals. Having more minerals, you get better colour. So coloured lettuce can be better colour, tomatoes can be redder, and also you can increase the weight. And right at the beginning you saw me with a watermelon, but we can increase that weight by about 10%. So the watermelon grower, that covers his cost of transport, because one bin of watermelons will weigh 10% heavier because he's substituting minerals for water, and also obviously increasing the colour, increased sugars. So then farmers don't want to spray frequently because that's very costly in labour, costly in chemicals, costly in petrol. And this product, VIGOR GRO, has quite a good effect on fungal diseases. And we'll probably come to that a bit later, won't we, Roger?
Sure.
And also can reduce one group of pests, the mites, and we'll come to that a bit later. So,
well, some of the major problems that crop managers are facing, of course, is pollution for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And the, phosphorus, nitrogen runoff, which, as you know, is destroying our creeks and rivers and, our coral reefs, etc. And of course, some products, not all, but some products are not as effective. Some organic products are not as effective. And sometimes the price range for some of the organic products on the market are quite high and sort of out of the scope of a lot of managers. So we've got products, high quality at very, very competitive pricing, right? Would you like to comment on some of the pollution that happens with nitrogen and phosphorus?
Yeah, you mentioned that. And the nitrogen source we have, and it's possibly one of the first in the world where we're utilising plant amino acids, which are high in nitrogen. And so once the plant can take them in the leaf, but if it washes off the leaf or we apply to the soil, it's virtually immediately utilised by the plant or the soil microorganisms, because it's not a foreign type of thing like a synthetic rock phosphate or urea or calcium nitrate or ammonia, which are made from the petrochemical industry. Our nitrogen is made by a plant for a plant. So that's basically it. And so there'll be far less runoff, or both the nitrogen and the phosphorus will be utilised by soil microbes rather than leached out or washed out into a creek, river, or into the ocean ultimately.
Right. Well, let's look at what's unique and what makes a difference here. The first dual action fertilizer with this fungicide activity at competitive pricing. Now, we will go into the fungicide activity when we talk a little bit more about the sea minerals extraction that we have in VIGOR GRO. But would you like to just talk about this dynamic of dual action, because it does save time. There will be less spraying involved. Time and money is saved here.
Yes, Roger. Most fungal diseases, a lot of surface fungal diseases are controlled by metals, and huge quantities of copper are used in this world, and then manganese. The number 2, I think, fungicide in the world is based on manganese, and then zinc's used. So we know that these metals can control fungal diseases. So part of the the VIGOR GRO formulation is derived from minerals and metals from the sea. And so that's how we get this dual effect, this reduction in leaf fungal diseases, because it's these metals. Now, we know that the sea is very high in magnesium. In fact, it's incredibly high in magnesium, about 10, 12 times more than calcium, which is the next thing. And we're taking the minerals and not the salt water. We put that back in the sea. So we have this high magnesium, and then we have these other metals in the sea, because the minerals in the sea all evolved from runoff from volcanoes or mountains, over the years. And so that's where they originally came from, and we're just pulling them back out of the sea and putting them back where they originally came from.
Recycling them.
That's right. And then we're concentrating onto a source like your zucchini crop, which is really will be attacked with powdery mildew, you see. So we're just making nature work a bit faster, that's all. We're doing it for nature.
So let's look at our ingredients, because they really truly are unique. The first one here is what we've just mentioned, of the key minerals and trace elements extracted from seawater. So we've been experimenting with this for many years, over a decade, and we've got it down to a fine art, this extraction. We've also got a nutrient-rich, digest fermented plant-derived amino acids. It's a bit of a mouthful, but essentially we're doing this unique macerated, sprouted mix, and it's releasing the nitrogen plus all the biostimulants and the amino acids. So this is really, really nourishing to the soil, along with the minerals. And on top of that, another unique aspect is we've got this exclusive use to a volcanic apatite rock in Queensland. And so this is giving us high phosphorus and calcium and even more trace minerals. And this is micro down to what size do we get that right down to, Leyland? And of course, it's in suspension with our organic wet spreader penetrator. So yeah, just tell us a little bit more, if you like, about the digested fermented mix and our unique volcanic rock.
Yeah. I'll start with our source of nitrogen, and our source of nitrogen is not animal, it's not blood and bone, and it's not fish. So we're not depleting the world of its fish stocks, and you have to be careful if you're using animal products. So we're using the highest nitrogen plant, and that's a soybean. But we grow the soybeans, and in a very short time, it's about 6 days, we can get them to about 15 centimeters high on either shelves or on a conveyor belt. And we can do that because we use our marine minerals, which really stimulate the growth. And so the soybeans go then, like Roger, you mentioned, into a macerator, which is like a giant pulping machine, through homogenizers and into the digesters, which are very similar to the wine industry, where they are kept at an even temperature, and we add certain lactic acid and other enzymes. So we are digesting this green mass, plant mass, which is high in nitrogen. They're proteins. So we're breaking them down into the amino acids. So we're doing similar to what you do when you eat protein. It has to be simplified. We're simplifying it so it's bioavailable. Right. And of course, there are other things in the plant too. And obviously there's chlorophyll, so we're getting magnesium, and then there are growth promoting substances in the roots. And so we have the growth promoting substances. And then you mentioned this apatite rock, which is a very interesting rock. It's been around a long time, but people haven't looked at it because it's not that, it's a bit difficult to get it soluble. And so rock phosphate, which is used throughout the world, which is a sort of a marine derived, and they just react that with sulfuric acid. And of course, the fumes from that can cause problems where they're doing it. And also it can be high in cadmium. And already in New Zealand, they have a problem with high cadmium levels. And as you can appreciate, volcanic rocks have many, many minerals in. And this apatite is a peculiar rock, and it's actually a waste rock from the ilmenite mining or titanium mining. And it's extraordinarily high in phosphorus and calcium. And so you asked about particle size. We mill this down to about 2 microns, and we put this, so if you threw it up in the air, it just float away. Microns, very fine. and have special machines that do that, as well as the other things in there, because volcanic rocks always have other things. Obviously, there'll be some iron and some copper, some molybdenum, some boron, etc. Anyway,
well, in actual fact, Alan, just on that point, it's not often mentioned in farming circles, but it's actually paramagnetic. And those who have done any sort of research around, because it's volcanic, it's paramagnetic, and all microbes need a good paramagnetic source for them to flourish on that sort of vibrational level. So it's a slight paramagnetic quality there, which just actually adds to the whole dynamic here.
Yeah, you're quite correct there. And so, but our aim is to get as large a larger surface area as we can. So that allows the organic acids. Obviously, if we're digesting something, we're going to produce organic acids, and they solubilize this rock. And so we don't use sulfuric acid. So no, we're using acetic acid and organic acids, which are produced, and lactic acid, which are produced naturally. They're soft acids. And so getting this incredibly large surface area, we can solubilize these to a great degree, this quite unique rock. In fact, there's a lot of work being done now all of a sudden on apatite rock because of the pollution problems caused by superphosphate, which, and particularly in New Zealand, but many places, which is based on the marine rock reacted with sulfuric acid. And so, so that's where we get our phosphorus, high calcium, trace minerals. The plant digest is our amino acids, and obviously some other magnesium and other things, And then we have a unique organic wetter spreader penetrator. I've done a lot of work that many leaves of plants are very difficult to wet. Like, you could spray a cabbage or a broccoli or a kale plant all day and you will not wet it. Just go and get a leaf and dip it in water because it's very, very waxy. The same thing with a young banana leaf. Just water will just run off it. Same thing with the underside of a avocado leaf. And I've discovered the world's hardest plant to wet is a taro leaf. And I can see now why I spent my early working life in New Guinea, why the children use the big taro leaf as their umbrella, because it just doesn't, water just runs off it. So you see children walking along with a big taro leaf, but now I know why. And I actually use this as a test. If we can wet a taro leaf and a young banana leaf, you can wet anything. Right. So we have this. So we have this organic wetter because diseases, fungal diseases on the outside of a plant, they've evolved not to get wet. So when it rains, they don't want to get waterlogged. And insects are the same too. They have a waxy outer covering, and fungal disease have a waxy outer covering. And so we're able to wet it, spread the wetter, spread the vigor grow, so you don't have to use so much. And also we can penetrate through that waxy layer on the plant to get it into the plant. And interestingly, Roger, the underside of the leaves are usually much more difficult to wet. And that's, the underside is where you get into the plant, the stomates, those breathing holes under the leaf. So we can do that. So that's why the formulation, it's simple, but it's complex at the same time. We're looking at each part of it to make it work better and get a better result for the user.
Well, just a little summary here: organic, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, and it's a slow release, as we've mentioned. Non-animal derived, it's vegan, non-chemical sourced, so there's no animal, no fish, no synthesized chemicals, and of course no urea, etc. beneficial to soil microbes, ideal for the regenerative organic horticultural movement, which is a rapidly expanding movement, and of course ideal for any kind of high intensity horticulture, and ideal for any crop management program. Yeah.
So, one thing I'd like to say, Roger, one point I forgot to mention, with this wetter, it's an organosilicon wetter, and silica is vital for the plant to give it strength. So not only are we wetting the leaf, that silica is available to the plant to give it extra strength.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we do actually have this one main product, VIGOR GRO, but in actual fact, we can tailor make this to your crop cycle. So for instance, yes, the nitrogen and minerals, you know, those ingredients that we just mentioned, but we can obviously increase for instance, the nitrogen level for faster growth and health at the beginning, and the phosphorus, you know, the trace minerals, increasing strength and robustness. The calcium, as people know, strengthens the cells, and the phosphorus for better flowering, fruit size, and higher brix levels. So yes, we do have the one main product, but we can tailor make this into your growth.
One point there, Roger, and it's just come up recently. This calcium, when you got high humid weather or very hot weather, calcium is not transported around the plant very easily, and so the plant can never get it to the very end of the parts of the plant. So you get tip burn, like around the edge of the lettuce leaf, or you'll get a blossom end rot. That blossom will rot off because it's an absence of calcium. So our product can do that, can get there. And because it's being carried there by these amino acids and things. And so it's a product for doing that. But I've noticed here in Australia, we have a lot of problems with calcium deficiency, you know, in hot weather, hot, dry weather.
Good. Okay, just another quick summary. So unique biological activity and mode of action. Plants grow healthier and faster, which is what every horticultural manager wants. You know, you can actually perhaps get 4 crop cycles in that year instead of 3. For instance, we've seen that with our Sydney lettuce growers, that the crops are healthier, stronger, but also faster growing. And of course, this added benefit of dealing with many fungal diseases. Now, a unique aspect of the sea minerals, so they're often referred to as ormus, which means orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements. So they can attract light energy, which is a major reason for increased growth and production in covered crops or moonlight, cloudy conditions. So we've actually worked quite a bit with this with various crop managers around Australia, and increases the cell-to-cell conductivity. Do you just want to comment on that cell-to-cell conductivity?
Yes. And on that, speeding up the growth, and I've seen this with hydroponic growers, big ones, where they know exactly the day when they're going to harvest, right? Because they've got supplying all the large retail outlets, and cloudy weather, it'll be 2 or 3 days later, I think, but they found it wasn't 2 or 3 days later, and so confounded a bit of a problem until they realised that the effect of clouds or cloudy conditions, less sunlight, was not as bad as it was without using the product. Now, this increasing cell-to-cell conductivity, the cells communicate with each other as electron exchange, and that's how water gets to the top of a tree, really. and also there's a fair bit of electricity in plants. And in fact, there's some patents taken up where someone joined a whole lot of trees together with copper wire, and he found he could charge his mobile phone just off the trees. Yeah. So, but these monoatomics, these orms, are they're superconductors. You know, the gold and silver, rhodium, iridium, and they're in a type of another isomeric form, but we won't worry about that because even I don't quite understand it. I just see the results. And so the cells, the electron exchange is much easier between cell to cell to cell, and then able to by osmosis get things from cell to cell to cell. And so that's where this helps. These superconductors, these minerals that we're pulling from the sea in this non-metal form.
Monoatomic, yeah.
Yes.
It's from pristine ocean water on the east coast of Australia. And it promotes vigorous root development. We've got a good picture of some of that coming up. And of course, stimulates the production of chlorophyll. And,
Roger,
sorry, carry on.
Yeah. I know some hydroponic people will put 1 to 100 of seawater in their solution. And I've said, why? And they don't know why, but they said we get better results. And if they go too much, of course, they'll have too much calcium. And the reason they're getting better results is because what we've discovered, these monoatomic elements. Yeah. But they just say, oh, you know, put seawater 1 to 100 and it makes a big difference. But of course, you've got to watch the sodium levels, the salt levels. That's all. Ours, you don't.
Yeah, all the sodium is extracted out.
Yeah, not all, but Roger, not all, but plants do need sodium.
Yeah, but just the right amount.
Yeah, they don't need huge quantities of sodium hooked onto the calcium part.
Yeah, that's right. And reduces the effect of frost and cold. Do you just want to comment on that?
Yeah, right. If you can increase the concentration of substances or minerals in a plant, you require a lower temperature to get to freeze, right? Mm-hmm. So we're replacing water with manufactured sugars and carbohydrates and things, so the plant can stand another 3 degrees of cold above normal. That's the reason we're reducing the water inside the plant, replacing it with minerals and manufactured things.
Okay, and the chlorophyll. Okay, we've mentioned this chlorophyll level. So,
well, yes, magnesium, Roger. People don't realise magnesium is the key thing in chlorophyll. Just like in our blood, iron is, you know, hemoglobin. For plants, it's chlorophyll, and so we have a lot of chlorophyll. This is, as I mentioned, one of the number one mineral in the sea minerals we get is magnesium. Yeah. And also it acts as a good fungicide, but it also, you'll notice your plants go greener within 2 days. Yep.
Yes, we've seen that, haven't we? Quite often with the trials, with the feedback that we get from various managers. Okay, so just a few more slides here. So yes, health, plant resistance to disease, the higher pH, bioaction,
and the fortified I see on the lettuce, I see this all the time, this high colour on these coral lettuces. Yes, that's what the farm wants. And the higher green, the lettuce is not a yellowy green; it's a nice dark, crisp green.
Yes, exactly.
And
so we're just coming up to some pictures here. Obviously, the organic regenerative agriculture is just really, really taking off in all over the world. And in fact, of course, Europe, the EU is starting to put in all sorts of regulations around the use of glyphosate. It's going to pretty much disappear off the planet pretty soon. And people are seriously looking for alternatives to chemicalized fertilizers, weed control, etc. So the industry is getting very, and because people are basically, wanting healthier food without the toxic residue, which has been associated with many ailments, let's face it. Yeah. So now we have been developing these products for several years, and we've had good results and trials with a lot of these crops that are listed here. Do you want to just highlight some of the results that you've got through the...
One particular is sweet potatoes. I know an organic sweet potato grower is probably the largest organic sweet potato grower in Australia. And I think he was saying he can fit, his boxes are weighing 10 to 15% heavier than if he wasn't organic. The same box, he has a box that has to fit the sweet potato in, 10 to 15% heavier. It's very similar to what right at the beginning I said with the increased weight of the watermelons. So sweet potatoes, floriculture, increasing the colour of the roses or whatever plants, because that's the most important thing in floriculture. Culture obviously is the presentation of the flower, and also one grower was a large, unfortunately he's not here now, but a big gerbera grower, and gerberas have been developed, have this great big flower and quite a small stem, and they break off just below the flower. And he had far less trouble, much stronger stem on that gerbera, and also much bigger flower too. Berry crops, increase in sugar levels, we call that brix, and if you can increase the sugar levels, you get longer shelf life. Like you may have got a tasteless strawberry, it goes watery and it doesn't have a long shelf life. You increase the sugars and the solids in that fruit, less bruising, and so for berry crop, particularly blueberries. And also I've noticed blueberries get a big problem with a rust, which is a reddy brown colour under the leaf. Using VIGOR GRO, they don't seem to get the rust problem. Cucurbits, cucumbers and zucchinis and things. Once again, you want size and you want solids in there, just not water. And also cucurbits are very prone to powdery mildew. If you've ever tried to grow zucchinis, you'll find you won't get powdery mildew by using VIGOR GRO. Mm-hmm. Herbs, once again, you want more solid, so you get the things in herbs, the essential oils and whatnot. You want tomatoes, again, colour and weight, so you get less bruising, and also taste. If you can increase the solids as against water in a tomato, the taste will be significantly better, and you've probably had, unfortunately, many hydroponic tomatoes are a bit tasteless, you compared to what you grow outside. So we can overcome that. Of course, brassica crops, very hard to get things through the leaf because you can't wet them. So VIGOR GRO, having this very good wetter spreader sticker, is ideal for brassica crops, and you want to grow them as fast as possible so they don't get a bitter taste. So this is where this comes up. If you grow things, brassicas, too slowly, the sulfur compounds are a bit strong and they become bitter.
And I remember we got really, really good results with our passion fruit growers up there in
Yes,
New South
yes,
Wales. I think we got we certainly got increased weight. So there was more money in the wallet of the farmers. And
yeah.
did they got increased weight? Did they get another growing cycle in there?
Yes, you get less flower drop. In passion fruit, you can get a lot of flower drop. And I think that might be due to a calcium deficiency, but no, they got every flower setting fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want. You don't want to producing flowers which are not producing fruit.
So yeah, that was a very, very good result, wasn't it? They were very, very happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look here. And okay, we did quite a bit of work with Sydney lettuce growers using as a foliage, and also hydroponic managers are have been using VIGOR GRO. We are going to be fine-tuning that product into what we call naturoponics, but for now, there's been quite a few hydroponic growers just using the VIGOR GRO, hasn't there?
Yeah, that's right. They're using it as an overspray once every 5 days. And whereas I know one is putting it in with his nutrients. So we're sort of fine-tuning, like you mentioned that word, by doing an overspray. They've got their basic nutrients, and we can do an overspray. And I saw just recently where they obviously didn't have enough, the plants weren't getting enough calcium. And so just the overspray overcomes that. So it's a fine tune. And dragon fruit can take, they're very green, they can take up a lot of nutrients through the structure of the whole plant, you know, the stem and everything. And so spraying the whole plant, you can get a very good, you know, faster dragon fruit, and they're becoming a bit popular, get more crop, faster growth, because you can get the stems to take up the nutrients. Okra, you must grow that quickly, otherwise it gets woody, and so we can increase the growth there, otherwise it's very hard to eat. Papaya suffers badly with fungal diseases, and so spraying frequently, we can protect it. And I think my record, I think you saw, Roger, was 32 centimetres, and right. 3 and a bit kilos for one papaya, and it was more than 120 fruit on the tree. But with papaya, you've got to have good coverage, you know, and that's important. So no little Bunnings $20 little pump up sprayer. You've got to have something with a bit better volume.
The real deal sprayer, yeah.
Exactly. With coffee, I know a bit about coffee because it's been a passion of mine, and I originally helped set up coffee in New Guinea when I was a young agricultural economic advisor, and I've been growing coffee ever since. Coffee gets a fungal disease here called Cercospora, like it's a spot. And certainly we don't get that if you spray every 3 weeks to once a month. And I've got some very good coffee trees. One this year was 4.5 kilos of roasted coffee from one tree, which was only 2 meters high. 26 kilos of cherry. That's the coffee has a cherry, and then it's got the 2 beans inside. And then medicinal cannabis.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest from the medicinal cannabis growers, haven't we?
Yeah, yes. And I have permission where I actually live to grow a small quantity, a government permission, because we're looking on its growth rate and the number of buds. This is the cannabis for medical, what it's called CBDs, these cannabinoids for health. And once it's similar to all plants. If you can increase the health of the plant, you'll increase flowering, flower head, and whatever the plant is supposed to do. In this case, you want high CBD in that flower head.
Yeah. And
also, cannabis can be affected by a number of insects, and it seems like I've noticed that never an insect problem when we spray it with the VIGOR GRO.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good. Okay, just a few more pictures, folks. Here's the result that we got with a chili plant. And we also have our results with Rosella. And this is actually goldenberry.
Yeah.
You can see the radical.
Yeah, sometimes called a Cape berry, but it's about the size of a large marble, encased in a case, sometimes called Cape gooseberry.
Yeah.
But we call it goldenberry. It's a bit of a hobby of mine.
Yep.
Yeah. As you can see them there. Mm-hmm.
And that's with Sam.
And that's just one drench there. That's one drench, yeah.
Yep. 5 mil. Okay, so just some other results. We can see that, I mean, Leyland is constantly doing research trials with all of these products, virtually 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And just another result. And, you know, we experiment, you know, with different dose rates, etc.
Yeah. And you'll see some strange names here. Early on the piece, there are a number of different names, and we use code names and numbers and things, but very good effect you get on lettuce. The same thing with the.
Now this is an important, right? Look at this root development here.
Yeah, yeah. So another thing, Roger, I've noticed that you can't really overdose, and I bought a product recently from a major outlet here for home gardens called Bunnings, and it had quite a negative effect on growth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And these are seeds just planted. That one there is similar to more cannabis, and that's at 25 days. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, the marigold coming up really good.
Back to your floriculture, yes, quite a significant effect. Now, these were put in. I bought a punnets of them and just pull them apart, put them in, and you can see the others just haven't taken off at all. Whereas it's 3 times 1 mil. An OF is a code number we're using very early on. So it's so 3 times of 1 mil per litre of water over that 30 days, so every 10 days. So quite low rates. And on the left-hand side, you'll see once again the root development.
Yeah. Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah. So it's foliar, Roger, and soil. You can do either or.
Yeah. Yep.
This is a happy farmer. Okay.
There's it. Okay, so no withholding period. WHP.
That's very important. You can spray and pick on the same day.
Yeah.
And so there's no waiting around, no residues inside that you can get caught with, no odor. Now, a lot of the fish products have a strong odor. A lot of the blood and bone type products or the chicken products have a strong odor, no odor. And you don't really need any protective clothing, but if you get it all over your skin, it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
It might have a beneficial effect, but yeah.
And of course, no special storage records, no poison, etc.
No, No, and just store it out of direct sunlight. That's the only precaution really for storage.
So up on our website, you will see some more videos describing some of these other products. And, you know, we do have Gotcha, as mentioned before. That's our herbicide, wheat and weed killer. And so we'll be doing some presentations on that, and On Guard, Fungo, and Natroponics. And, you know, we have a couple of other products in development. So
yes,
and state-of-the-art manufacturing in South Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Really
on the Gold Coast, actually on the Gold Coast, Roger.
Gold Coast, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are geared up for commercial orders. We're not geared up for domestic at this stage, unfortunately. So we are, we do have a minimum order palette, and these details you can see up on the website. But, you know, we're flexible. We can do some different volumes for you. And, you know, we can also do 200 litre, 20 litres. Special arrangement, we will do 1 litres, depending on the volume.
Yeah.
I can see myself pouring it into 1 litre.
And the same thing, Roger, with 5 litres or 10 litres. 10 litres, 2 to the box, 5 to the fours.
Okay, well, that's us, Leyland and Sam and myself, Roger. So thanks for your time and focus. You can always get hold of us at organicbiotech.solutions. So thank you very much. And thank you, Leyland.